We've learned about business and life is that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome to another episode of the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast with Ben and Syya. Welcome back, everybody. Great having you guys here. Now, this week we want to talk about curiosity. Yes, it did kill the cat, but this is a bit more about that. We need to get back to a point where people are curious about each other. We need to care about each other. If we're going to have empathy, if we're going to listen to each other, if we're going to value each other, if we're going to understand each other, we need to be curious about each other. And I think that curiosity is something that is so lacking in today's world. And I think that it's a detriment, whether it's leaders not being curious about teammates, teammates not being curious about their leaders, teammates not being curious about each other, not being, curious about our spouses, our kids, whatever. We need to start being curious again. We need to start asking questions. We need to start asking better questions. So, Syya, let's get into this. Let's gnaw on this for a bit.
I think I've said this in a past podcast, which is I wonder what happened to our lack of critical thinking skills and what's happened with that. I think a component of it is the fact that we lack curiosity. I don't have children, full disclosure, so I'm going to be that jerk that makes this comment. But as an outside third-party objective viewer, when I see my friends and family shuttling their children off and their entire calendar day is already minute by minute segmented off and already earmarked, where's time to play? Where's time to have imagination? I think we're creating a generation that is so structured that when we have to think outside the box, there's going to be a huge disconnect. That's why I was adamant that we talked about curiosity today.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, as I do have kids, I have a son who is in university right now and does extremely well. And as a kid, his playtime was Lego and blocks and mechanical sets and stuff like that, things that he could tear apart and put back together. For us, that was critical. It was critical for us to get stuff in front of him that he could figure out himself, that he could sit there and make mistakes, that he could blow stuff up, put them back together, blow it up again, and then, and then put it back together again. And it was enabling that thought process through his entire life that is probably going to be the best thing that is ever going to happen to him, because he sits there and goes, wait a second here. I don't understand this. Let me figure it out. This isn't working the way I think it should. Let me figure it out. This person isn't wasting. Something's going on with the relationship with this person. I need to figure it out. And I think that we need to get back to that, because when everything is pre-programmed and pre-designed and we think we know the answer for everything, we stop asking more questions. And when we think we know everything and when we assume everything, we usually don't. We may have some of the information, but we don't have all the information. I mean, the greatest thing I remember, Simon Sinek said this. He says, he was talking the difference between a leader and a manager. And he says, a guy comes into work 5 days late in a row. And the manager goes up to him and says, look, you've been late 5 days in a row. If you're late one more day, I'm going to have to fire you. The leader goes up to that same person and says, look, you've been late 5 days in a row. Is everything okay?
Right.
And it's that, is everything okay, opens up the door to sit there and listen to, well, maybe everything isn't okay. Maybe they've had a sick kid. Maybe something's going on with the family. Maybe something with their wife. Maybe something
with their own health.
With their own health. Maybe their car broke down and they're having to take the bus to work instead of taking their car to work. Every who knows what's going on in their life? But if we don't ask the question, if we make the assumptions, and if we sit there and say, well, you're just being stupid, guess what? We're the ones that are being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we really need to get back to the thought of saying, okay, this doesn't make sense in my world. This isn't jibing with my sense of reality. Why not? Am I wrong? Are they wrong? Are we both wrong? Are we looking at things from different viewpoints? What's going on here?
I think it's that empathy that you were talking about, right? I think we have a real big challenge in our world right now, our culture and society in modern human civilization globally. Okay, I'm not just speaking for us in the United States and Canada. What I'm saying is this. I think there's a lot of factors that are tying into us becoming an incredibly selfish and self-centered culture. Technology has enabled us to broadcast like you and I are doing right now. Who the hell are we to talk about our opinions on things? And why should anybody give a crap about us, right? Oh, no, you and I absolutely think we're self-important enough that we have some value add to share, to talk about, to get people thinking, maybe to gnaw on ideas and concepts that might help improve their day or improve their life, etc.
And maybe we're right and maybe we're wrong.
But at least let's have that conversation to be called out on that. And I'm totally fine with that. We all should be fine with getting called out on it. Asking that further question, I think, will help us look at solving other issues and challenges and problems that we encounter either in our personal or our professional life in a way that we're not just doing the rigid do as I say, not as I do, told, whatever saying that is, hey, look, A, B, C, D, E, do it that way. It's the way it's always been done, and suck it up, buttercup, right? No, there are ways to innovate. There are ways to improve a process, improve a relationship, improve something, right? Or evolve something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not necessarily an improvement. Maybe it's just a different perspective to achieve the same goal.
It's just an iteration, and there's nothing wrong with an iteration. It doesn't have to be new and improved and disruptive to be interesting. It could be, say, never thought of it that way before. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Now okay. This is,
are you okay? Now me being curious. Are you okay?
It's me just swallowing my own saliva. Don't worry about that, everyone. I'm going to edit this out anyway. Maybe not. No. Okay. Wait, I can't. We're live streaming. Anyway, but that's okay. Yeah, if anyone's curious, this is one of those things about the podcast medium, the digital content creation medium, whether it's on audio, video. We talked about that topic before.
Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever digital content we're making is when you have someone to bounce off of you, when you have a guest, you have a panel, you have yourself to talk to yourself, right? I think it actually helps you better communicate, to learn to really listen, not listen for the answer that you're about to speak, if that makes sense. And that's why I love this idea and medium to promote for both personal branding and for corporate America. Corporate America, they always say corporations are made out of people or some bull crap, whatever saying that is. Corporations are people. I think it was back in the 80s someone said that. Look, if we can ask that one extra question of one another, put our attention in their shoes perspective, I think that would make for more interesting dialogue as well. So for you, I'm looking at you, Ben, and I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to get Ben on board to jump out of that plane with me? Hey, Ben, how did you like that last airline flight that you told me there was massive, turbulence and you thought you were going to die? You know what I mean? It's kind of like for me to remember that something of a story. And by the way, I just totally made that up. Ben, play along with me.
Absolutely.
But at least to have that moment of like, wait a minute, I know he's going to feel a certain way. Let's dig into that a little bit, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of going off my own story here, but
I think what you're saying has some validity, because when we can get into people's emotions, not it's what do you think and how did you feel? If you can get into how did you think and how did you feel, what are your aspirations? What are your goals? What are your big, hairy, audacious goals? What are the things, if you could do this, what would it enable you to do? It changes the dynamic of the conversation and it changes the dynamic of the relationship. Because if all of a sudden you start asking mentoring and coaching type questions, whether it's somebody that you love, whether it's somebody you work with, whatever, it enables you to get to a different level. It enables you to sit there and say, what if, why not? And what if we did this? It enables us to think about what's next. And I think that's what we really need to sit there and say, how do we get to the next level with people? How do we get them to engage at a level where we can sit there and take us from where we are today to where we need to be? And by being curious about them, instead of dictating, we've always done it this way because I said so, because I paid your paycheck. That's not a good enough reason for somebody to sit there and go, maybe I should think about it this way. But if somebody sits there and aligns their views with your views, and you both get on the same page together, and you're both thinking at things in an aspirational viewpoint, it allows you to come up with different ideas and different thought processes that maybe neither one of you would have come up with on your own.
You just kind of vibe me with there is it's almost like if you want to capture that curiosity, and for some folks, you lose it, right? Like for some folks, it's difficult to be curious again, maybe because your life is so structured, especially for those that have children and careers and, other responsibilities. I can see where your life becomes more rigid in a way that I don't have time for curiosity. I guess the way I would suggest it for anyone that wants to try this exercise with me is imagine whomever you're with or engaging with as if you're on a date. And you know how you're in that first date? It's a first date, not any date, just the first date where you want to learn about each other. And you're like, oh, we just talked at the same time. Or, we just saw that blue bird together and said blue bird. That wonderment, I would love to see if anyone else can do that. Next conversation, everyone try Gnaw on this one. I would love some feedback. Gnaw on this first date. I would love to see how everyone treat your next conversation. Could be your spouse, could be your sister, could be, a client, and really act in your head as if you're on a first date. I would love to see how that turns out. Now, let me clarify. When I say first date, everyone, don't be trying to make out with your peoples. That's a little odd unless it's your spouse. Okay. So that was my lawyer hashtag.
That's right. That's a subtext that we need to put in there for the legalese.
Yeah. Well, look, dude, remember that curiosity thing and people are used to being told what to do? Yeah. Sometimes if you me telling everyone, hey guys, treat your next conversation as like a first date. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? It could be a beautiful thing or it could be a disaster, but you'll never know unless you try. And
if you do get fired, don't blame
That's right. We never told you that. That wasn't us. But if you take a look at curiosity and you look at it in a way that I am trying to make my life better. And the way that I make my life better is to understand more than I understand today and realize that everybody out there has something to teach you. Everybody out there knows something more about something than you do. And if you sit there and say, I want to tap into somebody's level of genius, I want to tap into what they're passionate about. I want to tap into what gets them up and gets them revving in the morning. They're going to have conversations with you that are going to blow your mind. So I think that's a great place to stop. Let's be curious, people. Let's get out of our comfort zones. Let's ask questions that make us really chew on things and gnaw on things and be better people. So I'm Ben. I'm Syya. We'll see you next week.
Are you Syya, really?
All right. I'm Ben. She's Syya. Whatever.
I'm Ben. Sorry,
Good
guys.
night, Gracie.
You might be curious as to what the hell's going on in my head right now. Okay, guys. Gnaw on this. Business bites. Deuces. Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me, Syya, at innovationmediaenterprises.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites.